What's going on, my fellow traders? Hope you guys are doing really well today. Have a lot of great setups for you all. I'm going to be posting this to the public YouTube today. I want to give you guys some value, especially because it is a day before the first Friday of the month, and we know that is NFP. So I have a lot of great setups for you. So hopefully that'll attract some volatility coming into tomorrow, pushing into our levels for continuations in the direction we want it to go. We've had a pretty decent past couple of weeks in terms of volatility. We did see some moves, and the setups that we were presenting, especially within our signals group and VIP channels, have been going crazy lately. So congrats to all you guys who've been taking advantage of the setups we've been presenting on a day-to-day basis. I'm trying to make smart money concepts very simple. That's what we do here at Aerial FX. So if you do enjoy this video and want to learn more about how we get these setups and analyze the market from a top-down perspective in a very easy, systematic way, head over to my website, aerialfxtrading.com. Book a free call. Would love to talk to you about your trading journey, how we can best assist you. It is an investment, so prepare to come to talk about how we can make that happen. If it is the right fit for you, we'd love to have you on board, but if not, we wish you the best of luck, and I'll even provide my trading plan absolutely for free. So let's get right into it, guys. For those of you who are already in our VIP, you already know that all the ones we are going to talk about tonight are highlighted in red here. The ones that are not, obviously, are not going to be talked about. Just because I don't see anything on the other pairs that are worth talking about, and especially because tomorrow is NFP, I am going to be covering quite a bit of dollar-based pairs. So first, let's start off by talking about AUD-USD. So let's make this full screen here. Now, AUD-USD, yes, we are in an overall bearish market. The dollar is still strong on the higher time frame, but that doesn't mean that we can't see some volatility to the upside within some counter-trend opportunities. So what we can see here is that we first have to identify our range. So our range, meaning our structural ranges, are going to come here, this high, this low, this high, and now this new lower low that was made. This is all just intrastructural liquidity, or intrastructural liquidity, if you will. So this break of structure does not mean we're going to pull back and just blast off to the upside, and we should just classify this as overall bullish again. No, when we break structure on a lower time frame, we're looking for higher time frame retracements into higher time frame objectives. If we are, in this case, overall bearish, we don't want to be looking to buy overall, but maybe push up into some sort of objective to fulfill an overall lower low, lower high. This is how the markets work. And you can see the fractality of the markets as we're describing these structural points. So where is that overall objective target? Well, today we did sweep this previous high here. And I do think that we are going to come up a little bit higher, maybe up into 6,480. We can see that this push swept buy side liquidity here, and we pushed into that imbalance. That's when we made the lower low. The imbalance is right here in the last buying volume, so that area of supply around that 6,480 level. So we are counter trend bullish. Obviously, we can see we've broken the structure. We failed to generate the lower low, made that higher high. So I'd like one more drive into the low, maybe for one more drive up into the high. If we are going to continue long, great. We're looking for buys anyways. If not, then I think that this level is still in play before potential shorts. That doesn't mean I'm going to be selling from that level, even though that could be a level in which you could sell from because it's technically structure, imbalance, supply. That could be a decent level if you wanted to maybe take half risk. But even if you weren't going to sell it, that'd be a good place to take profit before potentially looking for overall lower lows for the higher time frame pushes. Obviously, we can see here because we've been talking about the US dollar for quite some time. We have still yet to come into our higher time frame. Let me go to the daily supply zone right here. You can see the imbalance, the last buying pressure before the huge explosion to the downside. We haven't reached that level yet. We're building a lot of buy side liquidity. So I do think we may have one more run before potential fall. So NFP could be the catalyst to maybe have some short-term dollar weakness for overall dollar strength. So let's keep that in the back of our minds, and we can also see that we've created equal lows. So you can see with my cursor here, the dotted lines, this low has not been taken out by that low. We still have equal lows. So that's why I think that we can possibly, come down a little bit more, have that initial surge lower, maybe take out these equal lows in here before potentially rising again, just because we haven't filled objective. However, we are potentially distributing, but we're going to say that for another day. I don't want to talk about that until I have more clarity on what's going on. So we just talked about AUD-USD. But first and foremost, we had on a lower time frame this retail head and shoulders pattern. right? Let's see, scale in. We had the skewed left shoulder, head, skewed right shoulder. We fell, right? We actually fell and we retested the trend line that it created. So retail's all day long shorting. Well, what happens to retail? They lose. So they're enticed to go short, set their stops above the high or this high, and then price runs their stop and we continue. So now that we know, we're seeing these retail patterns. Now, the only reason why I draw trend lines and wedges and everything is just to show where retail is likely to get in so we can build confluence for the opposite direction trade, right? So in this case, they're looking to go short, we're looking to go long. We can see the 1 hour 50 EMA is at a good level for us. It's approaching this overall area of demand. But when we made that higher high, we have to look at the range. So this is the pullback, this is the new range. We're looking for another pullback for another expansion. So, I mean, it's really simple, guys. You just got to train your eyes to see this. High, low, high. What do we naturally look for? A low for a higher high. And the objective hasn't been met yet, so a trade from here would be nice into that overall level. So if we scale into a lower time frame, we'll see that this is the repricing. This is the demand before we made that higher high. So I would like for price to pull back into that level, maybe generate some sell-side liquidity prior to NFP, sweep it. The news is used as the excuse to inject the volatility into the market very strongly, maybe into that level, for pushes maybe up into that level for either continuations or a rebound lower. So you can see how I'm just preparing myself for what could potentially happen surrounding the impending news events that are coming out tomorrow. What could happen? Is liquidity forming? Where is structure? Where is the overall objectives? Where are our sponsored moves? Where are our retail fakeouts? Where are our supply and demand levels? All this is so important when building confluence for a potential trade, especially when it's surrounding news events that could be used as the excuse to push price into our desired levels, right? Because news is obviously not random. It is pre-planned, right? So when people trade news, it's just a sign that really they don't know what they're doing. It just shows incompetence and ignorance involved in trading. But when you finally figure out that news is actually pre-planned, and you just follow your trading plan regardless of what's going on in the market, that's when you become more aware of, oh, okay, well, the news is not pre-planned, or excuse me, the news is not random. How can we use the news as the excuse to push price in the direction the technicals are telling you to go, right? That's why I'm not a fundamental trader. I've never have been. I've always been profitable without it because it doesn't matter. Fundamentals will follow the technicals. Euro USD, same sort of deal. So we can see that if I just zoom out, and I know it's blurry, I'm just zoomed out here, but we're currently counter trend bullish. We've made a high. We have failed to generate a lower low within this downtrend. Low, high, low, high, low, high, low, high. Failed, higher high. So we may see one drive, pullback, two drive, pullback, three drives into the high. Now, will that be above, and we can see we've created buy-side liquidity, 1, 2, 3 touches, so retail's likely shorting with this trend line. So that's likely to be run. That's why I'm looking for buys. But also above this previous high, we have 1.07 psychological level. And if I go to the 4 hour, we can see that that is that momentumous push that occurred on Wednesday, September 20th at 9 o'clock in the morning. 9 o'clock, that's prime New York session open, manipulation time. So huge buy to sell, also imbalance. So straight selling volume, we would like to go and fill that. If it goes higher, it could, right? We could have an overall pullback. There's a repricing up in here, but I'm not going to talk about that for now just because it's really not worth it. I will say that for another video. But anyways, let's look at what's going on right now. So this past week, we've been kind of chopping around. We've actually created a retail head and shoulders, the left shoulder, the big head, the right shoulder, kind of a little bit bigger right shoulder, but we came down and all these lows, low here, a low here, a low here, have been swept. Sell side has been run. We can see clearly that wick. That's a sell side liquidity run. Now we pushed up into that trend line. So that tells me, okay, sell side has been taken out. Now we have created buy side. I'm looking for pullbacks to rise up into buy side liquidity and fill that objective at 1.07 at least, right? So we can kind of see the theme, like I said before, of short-term dollar weakness that would push XXXUSD up for potential maybe longer-term dollar strength into that objective level we just talked about on the dollar. So anyways, let's scale onto the 15-minute. We can see that this is the last selling volume. This was the selling volume that sold into liquidity before the crazy rally to the upside. We had a little bit of a repricing right here around this area of demand. So I'm thinking anywhere between 1.0576 and 1.0550. That would be a good level in which to look for longs. We'd sweep all this sell side liquidity here, get into discounted pricing before potentially rising up. All right, so that's my viewpoint on Euro USD. Let's continue. Gbp-aud is interesting. So if I just zoom out on a higher time frame, what you'll notice, and actually what do you see here? I mean, it's so obvious, right? It's this retail head and shoulder stuff. You see this all the time. You saw it right here, just on a lower time frame. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder, fake out, reprice, go long. Same thing here, just in the higher time frame. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Could see a fake out to the downside before rising. We've been talking about these levels down in here. I know it's blurry, I'm just zoomed out. I just want to give you the bigger picture. We've been talking about these levels down here, and we can see we haven't come down into them yet. These are levels of demand. Why? If this is a higher high, this is a higher low. I know this is a higher high and a higher low and a higher high. However, I wouldn't have yelled at you if you had a place, maybe a buy at this demand zone. Maybe you would have lost. Oh, well, we all lose. But then afterwards, we can adapt to what the market's showing us and add to additional positions based upon what the adaptation is. So we can see here equal lows. This trend line created 1 touch, 2, almost 3, 4, and we can see the beautiful sell-off. We broke this sell side trend line. So retail was buying with the trend line, and then it sold off, took their stops, and then it retested the trend line. So what does retail do? They sell it. So what happens next? It rises up and it takes their stops. So the buyers are swept out and then the sellers are swept out. That's how they can extrapolate funds and get people to sweep out of the market before the overall continuation occurs with the real trend. Okay. And where did the sell-off actually come into? Well, it came into an area of demand. Okay. So then, before breaking structure to the upside, we created the counter trend. We created the low, high, low, high, low, high. Oh, failed to make a lower low below that low. And that's where we started the uptrend. So we created 2 levels of demand, this selling volume and that. So these are our 2 areas of repricing or demand before continuations. So that is exactly where the manipulation from this potential head and shoulders could come into. We could sell off, sweep the neckline, entice retail shorts into these levels to mitigate and then go long. That could be a potential opportunity. You can see how I'm not saying it's going to happen, because how in the world am I supposed to know what's going to happen? All I can do is be putting together confluences to give higher probable areas of interest, because the higher probable areas of interest we have, and then the trades that we take off of those areas of interest that are already highly probable, going for the long run, meaning not just trying to win every single trade because that's impossible, taking 100 trades over the course of like a year's time. How many trades are you going to win versus lose with high probable setups with high risk to reward? Likely you're going to be profitable. But it takes that discipline and that mindset, understand that this is not a short-term game. If you're in it for the short term to make a quick buck, you're going to lose your entire life savings. I promise you, it's not going to end up well for you. Just ask yourself, am I profitable right now? If the answer is yes, well, you probably shouldn't even be watching this video, because you need to be focusing on your trading and not my trading. If the answer is no, right, then that kind of just proves my point, right? What are you doing to get better? Well, watching this video is a start. Do you have a trading plan? Are you sticking to that trading plan? Are you seeing emotions come into play in your trading? So that's just, questions you have to ask yourself, right? And be real with yourself. If you're not real with yourself, who's going to be? No one's going to be real with you. So anyways, here, we're looking for continuation short to take sell side liquidity, potentially fake out, come into these areas of demand. So we're looking for sell opportunities. We can see here, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, buy side liquidity run, lower low. Failed to make a higher high, lower low again, lower high, lower low. So we're just continuing to follow the trend. Where can we pull back up into? Well, we have a little bit of a repricing here, and then this huge imbalance around 0.91, right? So at the psychological level, overall, just giving you areas of interest to be looking out for. We have the 1 hour 50 EMA in place here. 4 hour 50 EMA is right here at that level as well. We can also see that this is an inside, guys, I didn't even see this until now, but you can see how fast my eyes are just trained to see this stuff. This is an inside level of supply. Why? This is something we teach in the course. Very, very powerful, right? We can see within the counter trend, this is the overall pullback here, right? This is the pullback before the expansion. right? I'm not using fancy terminology or making things difficult with breaking down each individual candle. We're just seeing it from a general perspective. And that's why we can make smart money concepts easy, because it doesn't need to be complicated, right? Higher high, higher low. That's the pullback. Higher high. We didn't have a higher low for a repricing and a sell-off to create the demand, or excuse me, supply. We just busted right through it. So when we do that, that creates the imbalance, but that also creates the inside supply zone. We just take the previous supply and extend it over, right? So that is definitely a level, and that would line up with that 0.91 level and that psychological level with the 4-hour 50 EMA as well. So looking for continuations. Short, that would pair well with Aussie dollar longs, Aussie CAD longs, which we'll talk about in a minute. So potentially, even though we're looking for Aussie dollar longs short term and Aussie CAD longs short term, we are looking for them overall long term to continue south. So that would be good for pullbacks short term into these areas of supply and imbalance for overall continuations to follow correlation. But anyways, continuations, Gbp-USD. So GU is a little interesting just because we're kind of already at a level that we could potentially be shorting off from. However, we could also see some short-term longs as well. So what I mean by this is overall, we're still bearish, making lower lows, lower highs. We're still trickling down here, right? I would like for price to come a little bit lower into this level of demand. This level of demand rests about 1.19, 1.1950. And this is the previous swing point. So we can see equal lows were run, even that low was run. Sell to buy, right? But that sell to buy reprice continue. That little consolidation in the lower time frame created that demand. So I'd like a retest of that level. So we'll see what happens. We're kind of already into that level here. You know, we've created retail buy side liquidity. So retail was selling with the third touch of that trend line. Started to short off, but nope, right back to the upside. It was simply just a lower low, a lower high into supply here, mitigation, and then we continued lower. Started to create a channel, this wedge. We broke out of the wedge. What does retail do? They buy. What did I say to do on the daily market breakdown video and pre-market analysis video from like a week or two ago? I'm looking for this level right here. I actually had a level right there at that last buy to sell, but we just missed it by a few pips. Anyways, still the same zone. I draw this up because I'm seeing where retail is likely to enter. It breaks out to the upside. Retail is going long. So what do? I go short, obviously. And guess what happens? Boom. So we ended up actually pulling back a little bit further. I said that we should be looking for shorts at this level of supply. We have another one right here. You can see that wick, that candle, that repricing to the upside, and then we fell. So we could come up a little bit higher, but it's a little contradictory to what we have with something like Nzdusd and Aud-USD. We're looking for further pushes to the upside, and that could be the case here. You know, we can see one touch, two touch. We may run up into that third touch, have a little bit of a push down to entice retail shorts with a third touch, and then we run up higher. Could have an overall pullback on Gbp-USD, but overall, I do think the dollar will continue to strengthen at some point. Maybe not this week, maybe not next, but these are not lows in the market, and we do have an objective down here. But maybe some short-term buying. So we'll just keep an eye on GU for the time being. NZD-USD. So what's great about NU is the fact that we not only do we see correlation with other X6X-USD pairs for some weakness on the dollar for a little bit, not only do we have buy-side liquidity up here that we have to target, but we have a type 2 manipulation that I love to see. So not only do we have the accumulation, right? Discrete lower lows, lower highs. We failed to make the lower low, and then we made the higher high. So that one drive, pullback, two drive, pullback, looking for that third drive. We have the 1-hour 50 EMA as that confluence as well. So I did send this out as a signal to my signals group, looking to target equal highs and this huge imbalance, looking to come back up into the supply zone at 0.6 psychological level. So really good trade coming into NFP, could inject some volatility in our direction. What I'm also noticing, and I'll just go scale into a lower time frame. This is where the type 2 manipulation comes in. Right? We had relatively equal highs and equal lows. We take buy-side liquidity first, attracting buyers into the market, come down, take their stops. Right? Breakout traders from support, they sell it. What does price do? We rise up and take their stops. So now everyone has gotten out of the market. We're sweeping people out before the real moves can occur. So before we made that higher high, we had that repricing, just like I showed you on Aud-USD. We had that sell-off, that repricing, that area of demand, and then the higher high. What could also be possibly forming right now? Potential head and shoulders. So what does retail do if price goes like this? They'll look to short with the breakout of the neckline, or if it retests this level, they'll look to short again. But what will price likely do if that happens? Mitigate the demand because of the manipulation that occurred here, the accumulation that I showed, the repricing here, the higher high, the failure to make the lower low. So we're likely to get one more drive into the high here. So likely to react off that level and go long. Again, it's just enticing retail to take the opposite trade that the market is going, right? To take their liquidity. All right, so that is Nzdusd. I have a great opportunity there. But you know what, guys? Even though I love this setup, even though I think this is going to work out, what if it doesn't? What if it doesn't? Does that mean that, oh, institutional concepts are wrong? Oh, Aerial Effects is wrong. Oh, we're the worst company in the world. We're the worst traders. Oh, you guys suck. No, because if the people who say that are the people who expect to win every single trade. The people who say that are the people who think that every single time a smart money concepts scenario occurs that it's supposed to win. No. How you win in this market is being accepting of losses, because it happens. I will have the exact same setup here, and maybe sometime in the future, this may lose, and then the next one may win. Or this one may win, but the next one may lose. It doesn't matter. It's about being disciplined. It's about being consistent in your trading. It's about following your rules, attacking the market the same way every single solitary time, and trading for the long term. Those who manage to understand that, which not many do, as a matter of fact, because it just proves in the statistics that 99% of traders fail within 2 years. They quit. I mean, the numbers don't lie. It just shows that the majority of people value win rate over longevity. Win rate over percentages. Pips over percentages. It's not the way to think about it. Think about it like, okay, I lost it. I know my strategy works. Doesn't matter. Move on to the next trade. Oh, great. I won it. I won the next trade. It was the same exact setup. Oh, I made a 1 to 4 on that trade and I lost 1% on the prior trade. Guess what I'm netting? 3%. Boom. You're profitable. All right, you got to think about it like that in the long run. It's very difficult for people to do so. Even though some people may claim to understand that, most of the time they don't. GJ, looking for continuations. Just missed my first entry this morning. I was a little upset, but who cares? Got to be patient. Can't have FOMO. Even though we saw this huge move occur and here, can't have FOMO. Why? Because these are the valid zones. If it doesn't come into the valid zones, you don't trade it. Why? You got to stay disciplined. You got to stay consistent. The second you start deviating and getting in your own mind and listening to your own emotions and psychology is the second that you start to lose. That's just what happens. So anyways, we are bullish. Higher time frame we are. You can see here clearly. But what's interesting to me is the fact that, even if we were bearish, right? Lower lows, lower highs, whatever. We failed to make a lower low below that low, and instead we made a higher high above the previous swing point. But what's also interesting is just the confluence that we can build with it, right? This sell to buy was mitigated, creating the new consolidation, the new demand, higher high. We generated liquidity, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touches. We sold into that demand, swept the liquidity that was formed, reacted, failed to generate a lower low, and instead made a higher high. Within this counter trend, where's the last selling volume? Low, high, failed, higher high. It's right here. And we have a huge imbalance, just straight buying volume. So after we made the higher high, I thought, okay, well, this is a little repricing on the 1 hour, little doji, little consolidation right before we took this previous intrastructural high. So that's our first level, because we may not get a deeper pullback, but if we do, okay, we have another level. The second level is just off of this huge selling volume. So I really shouldn't be having these for these videos, but I forgot to delete them. So there's your free signal, whatever. That's the level. The reason why I have to stop here and not at the second level is because I want to see if I can get into maybe both of them without hitting stop on the first one, because really the injection of volatility occurred right there. Not here, right here. So that's where the stop is going to go. Right? If it comes lower, fine, whatever. Then the overall stop will go below the low, and at that point, if it goes lower, then we lost the trade and we'll reevaluate. But that's not as highly probable as us actually going long. Okay, because at the end of the day, it's all about probabilities. Nzdcad. So Nzdcad, very similar to Nzdusd, We could see an initial sell-off before continuations. We did have accumulation. We did have that repricing here. We can see the failure to generate the lower low below the previous low and then the higher high. That's the repricing right there with the huge imbalance. We created sell-side liquidity, 1 wick touch, 2 wick touch, 3 wick touch, 4 wick touch right here. Retail's buying, so a lot of sell-side liquidity. We could sweep these lows, maybe even entice sellers below the breakout of this previous low, come into that level and go long. All right, because we have accumulated and we could go long. We've accumulated into a zone off of in a previous accumulation. This is the last selling volume within this accumulation before price made a higher high. There's a previous low, sell side liquidity. We ran it. We came in deeper into that. We accumulated again and did the same exact thing. We create the exact same types of setups. Looks the exact same, right? However, Nzdcad is still overall bearish. Could we make a lower low? Yes, because we still are higher time frame bearish. However, if we get a reaction from the level, where are we likely to go? Well, if we get a reaction, we stop here at that level, like I mentioned, and go long, we're probably likely to take out the swing point. Because what would this be? This would be a higher high, higher low, because we never took that low out. Likely a higher high. So where would be the higher high target? Well, if we're overall bearish, where is the structure on the higher time frame? Well, this is a low, this is a high, this is the new low, this is the range. So where is the last buying volume here with the pullback? High, low, high, low. You can't see it, I'll scale in, but it's right there. It's right in here. It's above all these intrastructural highs. High, 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 high. That's the last buying volume here. Right? This is the pullback. This is the last buying volume before we really started to make that lower low. Okay, and this imbalance in here as well, around 8328. That would be in a good premium price. So that could be overall targets for nights 1 to 7.5. However, could this turn out to be lower low, lower high, lower low? Potentially, right? Because we have come into an area of supply, and here imbalance was filled. So could we make a lower low? Yes, maybe a little bit lower risk, but I'm definitely still interested in that long. So that, I paired that with Aud-cad and I said the same thing. We were looking for longs here. I was really hoping that we'd push down a little bit further into our levels. That would have been a great trade, but we pushed up into that objective point. I noted that 0.89 on a previous video within a previous daily market for VIP was 0.89. Why? Because again, this is the lower time frame swing. Low, high, low, high, low, high, low, high, low, high. Failed to make a lower low. Higher high, higher low, higher high. So we're just in a pullback phase within an overall higher time frame downtrend. Low, high, low, high, low. Lower time frame swings within overall swings to the downside. We can see that. So where is the last buying volume within the previous pullback? That's the previous pullback. So now that we're in a pullback here, where are we likely to come into? The last buying volume of the previous pullback. So that is going to be right in here. So we have a high, we have a low, we have a high, which mitigated a supply, right? Higher low, failing to make a higher high. We reacted off this demand, but we failed to make a higher high and instead made a lower low. So really, there's a little bit of buy-side liquidity. We had that last buying volume. Lower low, we also had this imbalance. We also had that psychological level. So 0.89, and that's exactly where we reacted off today. So if we're going to continue to look to buy this, we have to be careful because this could be the catalyst to drive price and make an overall lower low since we're overall bearish and we've come up into objective. So if we're going to be looking to buy this, which I still am, I'd have to take a little bit of a lower risk position, right? But it still looks good because we have a high, we have a low that came into demand here. High, a low, came into demand here. See the last selling volume, just like we had here. Then we had another high, could have a low. This could also act as sell side liquidity right there, that low. Sweep it, go long into these demand zones, these repricings before we made that higher high, right? So that's Aud-cad. Last one, AUD-NZD. I really don't have anything new on this. I just wanted to point out this is exactly what I talked about in a previous daily market breakdown video. I think I may have mentioned it. I think I actually did mention it on a pre-market analysis video on the Trading Nut YouTube channel. If you guys aren't already checking those out, highly recommend it. I don't know how long I'll be doing those going forward, maybe till the end of the year, but we'll see. Anyways, I noted that just for the sake of time, not going to go over a full top down, but we accumulated into this zone, which we already called out before. I mean, our levels are very precise overall just because we understand structure, right? We understand zones. We understand where price is likely to go. Anyways, continuations we're likely to see because we are overall bullish. So we're not looking for an overall pullback for a lower low, because that would be if we're overall bearish. Since we're overall bullish, a break of structure here would be classified as the overall pullback to look for further longs, right? Because we're overall bullish on a higher time frame. So where would those overall longs likely occur? Well, this was the accumulation. This is really where we created the huge imbalance. So really anywhere in here, you can see that zone of interest. That would be really where the overall pullback would likely come into, would be in discounted price. However, if we were to continue with the lower time frame, which we have here, high, low, high, low, high, low, and we just continuing like that, demand, higher high, pullback, mitigate. Last selling volume here, demand, higher high, pullback. That's where I called out. Beautiful entry, mitigation of the demand, higher high again. So partials have been taken, stocks move to break even. I don't care if we come back down into the zone. I've already made money from it. If we continue, great. Higher time frame objective or next take profit, not my overall take profit, but next take profit would be a previous level of supply if we were to react, right? But if not, I definitely assume we're likely to make a higher high. So overall take profit is going to be way up there, which we'll go over another day. We can see that the 4-hour 50 EMA was another confluence for that tap into it for our buy. Just added more confluence. All right, guys. So I know I talk fast. I hope that you all took some value from this. It is really not hard to see this. It just takes time, right? You can't speed up time. Therefore, you cannot speed up experience, right? A new skill in this situation, learning how to trade, takes time. It is a skill. It will take time to learn. So if you don't understand it within a day, a week, or a month, or even 6 months, that's okay. That's normal. The people who are the soft ones in life are the ones who quit, right? Those are the ones who will never be rich. Those are the ones who will never make money. And then they can have fun the next day at their 9 to 5, right? What is easy is not going to make you wealthy. You got to grind. It's going to be hard, but it's worth it. Take it from me. I'm doing it, right? So if you want to learn how to do this, head over to my website, aerialfxtrading.com, book a free call. I'd love to talk to you about how we can best help you. I do want to help you guys. But what I do require from you is for you to be coachable, and this is an investment. I'm sorry, but if you're broke, don't even schedule a call. Not worth it, because you're not going to be able to sign up anyways. So what's the point? If you're willing to invest in your education, book a call on my website, aerialfxtrading.com. Let's see how I can put together a personalized plan for you and to help you make smart money concepts easy. That is our goal. All right. Anyways, guys, have a great rest of your week. Happy NFP tomorrow. Obviously, news is just used as the excuse to push price in the direction it was always meant to go. Just because it's NFP doesn't mean you have to trade it. If you have your setup, then great. But if you don't, sit on your hands. Enjoy the weekend. All right. Come back when there is a setup. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your week and happy trading for the rest of the week and next week. Take care.